We know that he set his nets down and followed him. What we don't know are the particulars that led up to that momentous departure, of which we can only here now speculate. Centuries ago, on the shore of the Lake of Galilee, lived a humble fisherman, James, the son of Zebedee. For many years, the routine of his life had been the same: rising at dawn, putting forth onto the lake, returning at twilight with the day's catch, drying and mending the nets. At home, his wife followed a routine of her own, sewing, weaving, preparing the frugal meals and tending to the needs of their children. Now, one evening, when James had returned from his day's fishing and the evening meal was over, his wife came into the little home, bearing water from the well, and noticed her husband sitting there quietly, staring into the twilight.
What are you looking for, James?
There's a man down there by the boats. I wonder if he's looking for me.
If he is, let him come up here. I see him now. He's ragged enough to be a beggar.
He doesn't look like a beggar.
He's going away down the shore. I'm glad of it, too. I don't trust people who have nothing to do but walk around looking at other people's boats. Just as likely as not, he means to steal one when it's dark enough.
He doesn't look like a thief.
I saw him this morning, and I tell you I suspected him then.
Why?
Well, he was standing, looking out to the sea, just the way you were doing when I came in, and in the middle of the morning when honest people are at work.
He may have work for all we know.
Work, wandering up and down the shore? If that's work. Look, you're staring again, James. What's the matter with you this evening? You've been so quiet and you've hardly spoken to me.
I was thinking.
Thinking? At this time of night, I'm too tired to think. I should think you would be too. Come, let's light the light and you'll feel more cheerful. You should be cheerful with the good catch you made today. You haven't done so well for weeks, and I'm sure it came just in time with all the mouths you have to feed.
You mustn't be vexed with me if I just sit here quietly.
It's not very pleasant for me.
Oh, I know it's not. I just can't help myself tonight.
What's the matter with you?
I don't know. I don't know myself.
You're tired, dear. You need to rest. I won't talk to you.
No, I wish you would. I wish I could talk to you. I wish I could tell you everything that's seething inside of me.
Why, you're talking wildly.
Oh, it's so hard to explain. I don't know that you'd understand.
I've understood you for a good many years. I've tried to, James.
I know that, but this is something different. The trouble is, I don't know what it is myself. That is, I can't put my finger on it, and it's just...
Why, you can try.
Okay, look. It's like this. Sometimes when I'm out there on the lake, alone at dawn or at twilight, when everything is very still and the lake is so quiet you hardly dare to dip an oar into it, and you see the lights of the village on the shore, and you hear voices, mothers calling their children, and laughter, and sometimes quarreling, you begin to wonder if this is everything. Working, sleeping, dying. Whether there isn't something beyond all this, something very beautiful that none of us see. Something we catch a glimpse of, perhaps, for just a moment, and then lose.
Oh, James, if that's all you're thinking about, why, sometimes I have thoughts like that, but what would we all come to if we let it worry us? We're here for something, and we do what there is to do. You'd better turn beggar, James, like the fellow you saw by the shore, then you'll have plenty of time to think.
Oh, don't laugh at me. I couldn't stand that tonight. I'd rather have you angry. Well, don't you think I've tried to get rid of these thoughts? Why, I tell you, sometimes I've picked up my oars and rowed until I dropped down exhausted just to escape from them, to stifle them with fatigue. But they come back. They come back.
Well, James, I suppose that as long as you catch enough fish to support your family, you're entitled to think anything you wish to. Only I wish you'd do your thinking on the lake, because really it makes the house very gloomy to have you do it here. Perhaps I do a little thinking on my own account when you're safely out of the way, but I try to have a smile for you when you come home.
You're a good woman, my love, and I'm beginning to think there's something wrong with me. But the trouble is this. I'm not gloomy, and they're not depressing thoughts. No. Sometimes I'm exalted, as though I had discovered the secret to everything. And then it eludes me. I come right back to where I started, working, laughing, dying. Isn't there something else?
There's bed, and I think you'd better go there because you have an early start and a long day ahead of you.
Yes, I know.
Hello? Hello? James?
There's your father. Don't let him keep you up too late. You know what it's like when he starts talking. Come in, Father Zebedee.
I hoped I'd find you up, James.
He's very tired, Father.
Tut, tut. The evening's still young. You can't put me off that way. What's life good for if all you do is get up and go to bed? Somehow tonight I feel as young as a boy.
You haven't been working all day. James has.
You see, I've been talking to the most unusual man. I don't know when I've met a person who seemed to... You can't help loving him. I was sitting on the shore, and everything looked very gloomy. I was very angry at Simon for selling me a coat at too high a price, and I was getting more and more angry and thinking up ways to get even with Simon, and this man came along. And I don't know what it is that he said. In fact, I can't seem to remember anything he did say. Just simple talk. The weather, people, that sort of thing. But all of a sudden I felt rid of my anger. I felt like smiling, and, he smiled. I think it was his smile that did something to me. I seemed to understand how ridiculous my anger was.
You're talking just like James, Father Zebedee. I'll leave you two alone together because I've got my work to do tomorrow, and I can't sit up all night and talk. Good night. And James, you have to start early tomorrow.
James. Yes, Father. What are you so quiet for? Nothing, Father. Weren't you listening to me? Yes, I heard you. I'd like to feel that way too, rid of everything that bothers me, understanding everything that gnaws at me. I'd like to meet a man whose smile would do that for me. Been quarreling? No, Father. I just wondered. What did she mean, talking just like you? Oh, before you came in, we were talking. I'm afraid she thinks I'm discontented with her, with my home, with my work, with everything. Well, James, we all get discouraged. It's not that. I'm not discouraged. But didn't you ever feel that this isn't everything? This waking and sleeping, working, raising children? Didn't you ever catch a glimpse of something? I don't know how to tell you, but yes, I felt that way too, son. A good many times. But that was years and years ago. When you're as old as I am, you'll just accept things. You won't go on questioning and seeking because it's too hard. And a man gets tired as the years pile on him. Yes, tired. But I must seek, Father. I must. I must go on, eager, unsatisfied, harassed, tortured even, questioning what it is that lies beyond this flesh of mine, the thing that gives flashes of its beauty to me, and then is gone. Take my advice, James. It will bring you nothing but heartaches, this questioning of yours. I've been through it, and I know. Take things as they come. Accept. Don't question. Nobody is going to come along to answer your questions. You can be sure of that.
James?
There, she's calling. I know what that means. She wants me to go. Remember what I said, son. Nobody's going to answer your questions, and you'll never find out for yourself. Good night. The night passes, and at dawn, James goes down to his boat to make it ready for the day's fishing. His wife finds herself alone, for as soon as breakfast is over, the children have scampered out of the house into the early morning sunlight. Busy with her housework, she hears a knock on the door and a cheery voice calling good morning.
As though there were nothing to do but to come visiting at this time in the morning. Yes, Father Zebedee, what is it?
Oh, it's nothing particular, just good morning to you.
You won't mind if I just go on working.
Not at all, daughter. I enjoy seeing people work.
James started yet?
No, he's talking to a man down on the shore.
Well, that's not like him. He's usually the first man out on the lake. He'll lose his place on the fishing ground.
Oh, there's lots of lake. And you know, that man he's talking to.
Why, it's that beggar. And the children. Children! Come here at once!
They don't hear you, daughter.
Father, you go right down and tell them I want them to come back to the house.
Let them stay where they are. They're not coming to any harm.
Why, look. They're in his lap, and James is sitting there with his mouth open, as though he'd lost his wits.
Daughter, you go down there too, and you won't come home.
I will go down there, and I'll bring the children home since you won't, and I'll give James a good scolding. Why, look, all the other boats are out, and he's still sitting.
Hark. James is coming back here to the house now.
So he is. And that beggar, he's got in James' boat. And the children are smiling and waving their hands at him.
Daughter, he has a gentle face.
I never judge people by the way they look. I don't understand why they keep crowding round him unless he's giving them something.
He's telling them a story, see? They're smiling and nodding their heads.
Well, I'll say one thing. I never saw them stand so still for so long. They won't listen to me.
Good morning.
James, why aren't you out on the lake? All the other boats have started.
I'm not fishing this morning.
Not fishing? What do you mean?
I'm going to take that man across the lake.
Is he going to pay you?
I didn't ask him.
Well, I don't think you have the time to go rowing people across the lake for nothing.
He has to go to the other shore, and he asked me to take him.
And you just said yes?
There's no one else to take him, and he said he must go, that it's important.
He hasn't anything important to do. Why, look at him. Does he look like a man who has important things to do?
He told me it's on his father's business, and I'm going to take him.
And miss a day's fishing?
I'll work late into the night. Ha ha, daughter. I told you there was something about that man.
Well, I wish he'd never come here. I think he's cast a spell on you both.
And on the children, too.
What are you doing, James?
He needs food. I'm getting him some.
We hardly have enough for ourselves.
We have enough to share with him.
Shall we feed every beggar that comes along?
This man is no common beggar.
Has he turned your head by promising you a great sum for rowing him across the lake?
He has promised me nothing.
Why are you doing this for him?
He asked me. That's all.
Take him then. If you have the time to spare from your work, if you have so much you can give it away, if you wish to come back tonight empty-handed and eat a crust of bread, for there'll be nothing else if you give your day to this beggar, and nothing else for me and for the children. If you want to put this man before us...
Don't reproach me. I mean to take him across the lake. I shall be back at nightfall.
James!
He's gone, daughter. No use trying to call him back. He's made up his mind. Well, I can tell by the look of him.
What's come over him? I can't understand. I can't understand.
James takes the stranger across the lake, and returns at twilight. The journey has consumed more time than he expected, and he has had no time to lower his nets. In the morning, he picks up again the routine of his fishing. Several days pass. Again, we come upon the little house at twilight. His wife is waiting, for James has not returned from his work, and she looks through the open door in the hope that she may see his sail rounding the point.
All the other boats are in. He's hardly ever been so late as this. Why, the children had been in bed for an hour, and his supper's been on the table so long it's cold.
Don't worry. He'll be along soon.
What is keeping him?
There, don't worry. He knows his way home.
Father Zebedee.
Yes.
James has been different the last day or two. Haven't you noticed it?
No, I can't say that I have.
He's been so gentle with me and with the children. I suppose he's felt bad for having wasted a day rowing the beggar across the lake, and now he's making up for it. Do you know the children are always asking about that man? When he's coming back, they don't seem to forget him.
I know. They're always asking me, and I don't know what to tell them. Funny, they're remembering him.
You know what the little one calls him, Father Zebedee? The kind man. Strange, a child saying that.
The baby said that. Why, that just about describes him. The kind man. Well, I never should have thought of that, and yet it's perfect. Children sometimes hit the truth.
Oh, I wish James would come home. It's getting so dark, and there's a wind rising on the lake.
Oh, don't worry.
Listen. You can hear the waves beating on the shore.
James has a stout boat.
Oh, Father, sometimes when I look out on that dark lake, I think, what if he should not come back to me? What if I should lose him?
There. You're not going to lose him. Don't work yourself up.
Men are lost out yonder.
Not good sailors like James.
Look, Father, look. Is that a sail out there in the dark?
Looks like a ghost, doesn't it?
It's his boat. James!
He can't hear you. There's too much wind.
I see it now. He's made the landing. There. I shouldn't have worried.
I told you so all along.
I'll have to get wood for the fire. There's none there. If he's damp and cold, tell him there's a warm coat behind the door.
You go and get the wood. I'll tell him. Your wife was getting worried about you. Better change your coat. You're soaking wet.
Where is she?
Well, she's fetching wood. Father, what's the trouble? Why, James, you look on fire with something. Like a man who's seen a vision. Father, I have. Have what? Seen a vision. James, you'll frighten your wife. Looking so wild, Oh, Father, I have something to tell her, and yet I hardly dare, and yet I must. Tonight. Now. Bad news? Is it bad news when a man finds that for which he has been looking? She's coming, James. Why, you look tortured. What is this thing you must tell her? Something that she will not understand. For all her love of me, something that no one will understand. What has happened to you out there on the lake? I have found God. Found God? You're mad, James, talking this way. Get into your coat and talk like a reasonable man. She's at the door. Get a hold of yourself, son.
James, my dear, you were so late, and the night was so dark, and the storm rising in the east and the waves on the shore. I was worried. But you're here now, safe. There, I have you again.
Father, will you leave us? I'll go, James, but don't say things you're going to be sorry for. Don't worry her any more by talking wild as you did to me. Good night, my boy. Good night, Father.
He's gone. I'm glad of it. We're alone together.
My love, I must tell you something.
Why do you look at me as though your heart were torn?
It is.
Put by your worries. Is there no peace for you here after the fretful day?
I must tell her now.
James, why do you mutter and stare at me wildly?
Do you believe that I love you?
I do. Why should I doubt? Because we sometimes quarrel, those things are forgotten.
Perhaps you will doubt when I tell you what it is.
You frighten me.
I must leave you.
Leave me? I don't understand.
I must make you understand.
How can you when your eyes are full of such strange wild light?
This afternoon, late, just before twilight, I put into shore, and a man came towards my boat, calling my name. The selfsame man I carried across the lake.
Oh, that man again. Does he want you to take him across again, and at this hour of the night?
Wife, listen to me. As I stood there, he approached close to me and laid his hand upon my shoulder, and as I felt his hand upon my arm, I seemed to faint, as though with a great weakness, and I heard his voice as in a dream. James, son of Zebedee, lay down your net and follow me.
Follow him where?
I do not know. I did not ask. I answered. Yes, master.
Master to a beggar?
I tell you he's no beggar.
What is his name?
I do not know his name. I only know he comes from Nazareth.
You're following this Nazarene? This man
He is not a man.
James! James! Now I know you're mad.
No. Now I see all things clearly.
Clearly? I see them too. You hate me or you wouldn't leave me.
I love you. For now I know what love means.
Don't you dare speak to me of love, deserting me and your children. Have you thought of that?
I have thought of that.
James, it isn't true. Tell me it isn't. You are making this up, and in a moment you'll laugh and you'll hold me and...
He has called me, and I must follow him wheresoever he may lead me.
No, I cannot believe you. Look at that room where your children are sleeping. Look there and tell me you're leaving us. You can't.
Perhaps they will understand. Perhaps they will understand, for they too call him master and love him.
Are you mad? Am I dreaming? Yes. Tomorrow the sun will be shining. The children will hold your hands. We'll wave goodbye as you set sail for the day's work and...
My love, can't you understand? I have been called to another work, to make people see the light that I have seen.
The light? You are only bringing darkness to my heart. Where is this man?
He is outside waiting for me.
I will speak to him.
Yes, perhaps you will understand. And
I'll drive him.
Wait, I hear a hand upon the door.
Yes. Come in.
My love,
I will not be silent. Open the door, James. Open the door.
Master.
James. The light. The light on his face.
He motions to me.
And your face, my husband. There is a light upon your face. It fills me with wonder and with fear.
He goes. I must follow.
But you will come back to me.
Yes, I will come back.
They are gone. Oh, my husband, my children. Now I understand you. It was the face of God.